Welcome to today's class. And in our class today, we're going to work with the idea of finding refuge within ourselves and within our practice and our time and space here on the mat. So 2 blocks might be helpful, just depending on your body. If you're feeling a little bit tighter today, especially in your hips, you might like to have your blocks or books nearby. And we're going to start laying down. So coming down onto your back. We'll take bent knees today, and you can take the feet however far apart feels right in your hips and thighs. Knees can fall in so that the knees are wider than your feet. And you could either choose to rest your hands on your belly or straighten your arms out by your sides, any amount. Your eyes can drift closed. And begin by first just inviting yourself to be still. Knowing that it's okay to be here without doing anything. Taking this time to just be and be with yourself. Anchoring your mind in the general sensation of your body. Simply how it feels to rest here. Sensing the smooth and steady qualities of your breath. So that the rhythm of the breath becomes very soothing to your mind. Your mind might focus on the movement of the breath in a particular part of your body. Or it might even be the slight sound of the breath. You're able to create that small constriction at the back of the throat. Breathing in and out with a very slight sound, kind of a whisper sound. And then start to bring to mind a situation where you felt very comfortable. It might be with a particular experience, maybe in the presence of certain people or a certain environment. I'm just starting to visualize that situation in your mind. Trying to use as much detail as possible. As you see this situation in your mind, stay attuned to how your body feels. Sensing what it's like to feel comfortable. To feel a sense of safety and ease. Really experiencing these feelings within you, and maybe noticing if your body grows a little bit softer with this sense of comfort. Let these feelings start to soak in, as if you are a sponge, really absorbing these feelings of comfort, safety, security. Then start to bring your awareness back to the room where you are. And when you feel ready, you can begin to deepen your breath. Taking in a little bit more air with the inhales. Still letting the exhales be full. And then as you breathe in next, stretch both arms up and back. So the sides of the waist grow longer. And then reach even longer through your right arm. So there's a lot of energy through the right side waist. And then soften the right side and reach longer through the left side. Just taking a little bit of back and forth here. One side gets a little bit more energy running through it. And then relaxes as you extend out through the other side. And then with your inhale, reach equally through both arms. And as you exhale, take the feet back in hip width apart. Take the right knee into your chest and hold on to the back of the right leg. And as you breathe in, extend the right leg forward. Thigh pushes into both hands, keeping the shoulder blades down on the mat. So the shoulder blades will probably be the thing that keeps your leg from pushing out farther. Taking another inhale here. And exhale, elbows bend, tucking the thigh in. Breathing in, take the knee and thigh forward. And with your exhale, point the toes and lengthen the back of the right leg, still pressing the back of the thigh into your hands. So arms are mostly straight here. Shoulder blades are grounded. And then we'll take an inhale and exhale, release the hands. Keeping the right leg lifted, we're going to take some circles around the right hip joint. So that leg could be at any angle. It might not be perfectly above the hip joint. If the leg or hip is a little bit tighter, your heel will be closer to the ground. And And then we'll change directions of our circles. And we want to try and keep the circles pretty even on all sides, meaning that the top of the circle isn't really big and then the bottom is really small, but trying to keep that circumference of the circle even. And then we'll bring the toes back into center. Breathe in to lengthen the leg. And with the exhale, send your right heel all the way down really slowly. So taking a lot of time to lower the right leg down to the floor. Trying to keep that motion as smooth as possible. And then when the right toes land, the right leg softens. Feeling the quality of energy in your right leg. And then bending the right knee, taking the right foot to the floor. And then we'll lift the left foot, taking the left thigh into the chest, hands interlaced behind the leg. And with the inhale, we'll press the knee forward. And with the exhale, drawing the knee in. Inhale, knee moves forward. And exhale, knee comes in. With your inhale, press the knee away. And exhale, point the toes and lift the toes up high. So we continue to push the back of the leg forward, helping to stretch and strengthen the back of the left thigh. But notice if your shoulders are lifting up, squeezing into the collarbones, and see if you can widen the shoulders so the upper arm bones roll down toward the mat. Inhaling, length through the back of the left leg. And exhale, hands release down to the floor. We'll take some circles now with the left toes. And we want to press through the right foot with the bent knee so that we can keep the hips steady and call on some core muscle engagement here. Taking the toes around the other way, making opposite directions with our circles. And then bringing the toes back into center, breathing in here. And breathing out, start to slowly lower the left heel. Taking as long as possible with a steady movement to take the leg all the way down. Once that left leg lands, let it be soft and relaxed. And then bend the left knee. Left foot comes back to the floor. And then reach your arms out wide to the sides. You can take a long stretch or with bent elbows, cactus arms. And we're going to pick up the knees so that they're about over the hips here. Shins parallel to the floor, belly hugging down and in. And with the in-breath, we're going to take the knees over to the right just slightly, maybe 3 inches or so. And with the exhale, using some belly strength to pull the knees back up. Taking the knees over toward the left, just a couple inches, very slight movement. And then knees come back up. So a couple side to side here as a way to activate our core muscles and the muscles along the sides of the waist, the obliques. Making this more about engaging the core than the very slight twist that's happening here. We'll take one more each way. And then hug the knees in. Hands can wrap around the legs, or arms can wrap around the legs. You might move a little bit more now side to side. With the lower body, arms keep the legs hugging in. And then we'll roll all the way to one side. You can press into your hands and make your way into tabletop pose. Pausing there just briefly before we shift back to child's pose. So aligning the hands and arms, knees and hips. And then hips push back as we lengthen the arms and the sides of the waist. You might choose to rock a little bit side to side. Bringing your head down, maybe to the mat, maybe even tucking the arms in, giving your head a place to rest on your forearms or fists. And if you were rocking, take a moment to get still. Connecting to your breath, finding this place of comfort within yourself. And then we'll start to lift back up into tabletop pose for a few rounds of cat and cow. With the inhale, we let the belly dip down as we look forward. And exhale, broaden the shoulders, round the back. Breathing in, sitting bones curl up, chest opens. Exhale, rounding the upper back. So finding a sense of rhythm with this movement. Just as the breath can be rhythmic, we can connect the movement with the breath to kind of amplify that rhythm, really embodying it within ourselves. As you breathe in, find a neutral spine. And as you exhale, tuck your toes under. Take your hands slightly forward of the shoulders, making sure that the first and second fingers are still aiming forward. So we don't want them turning in, but instead straight forward. And then from there, we'll lift the knees and hips, finding a nice bent knee, downward facing dog. And so as we lengthen out through the arms, And keep lots of space around the neck. You might notice some tightness in your legs, so we can pedal out the feet. One knee bends and then the other. Starting to wake up the backs of the legs a little bit. With your inhale, find stillness in both legs, but start to press forward through the balls of your feet, taking your shoulders forward, plank pose. Inhaling in your plank. Exhale, knees down, press back, child's pose. Inhale, rock forward to plank with knees down this time. So we still have straight arms. You might have to adjust the position of your hands to make sure they're forward enough. We're going to take a breath here, widening the collarbones apart, looking a little bit forward and beyond the space between your thumbs. Breathing in here. And as you breathe out, walk your hands back to your knees and rise up, bringing shoulders over the hips. Inhale, take your arms up and out. Exhale, open up to the right with the arms, but keep your hips facing forward. Inhale, arms extend high. Exhale, turning to the left. Now the right arm goes forward to the top of the mat. Inhale, both arms reach up. Exhale, elbows bend, hands come down underneath the shoulders, and then hips go back, child's pose. One full breath here. Breathing into rock forward. Stepping the hands slightly forward and finding a downward facing dog. Nice full body stretch. Inhale, we push off the balls of the feet to take the legs straighter, shoulders forward. Exhale, knees down, child's pose. One breath. Inhale, gliding the heart forward again, low plank pose with knees down on the floor. Sending the heart forward and making sure that the front of the neck and back of the neck are equally long. So not lifting the chin, not tucking the chin. Inhaling here. Exhale, draw the belly in as we walk the hands back, coming up to stand on the knees. Inhale, circling the arms high. Exhale, turning to the right. Right arm stretches back. Inhale, lifting the arms. Exhale, turning to the left. Inhale, both arms go overhead. Exhale, tucking the elbows in, lowering hands underneath the shoulders, and then pushing the hips back to the feet. Keeping the arms stretched forward here so we can open up the backs of the shoulders. Breathing in, we glide forward. Breathing out, tucking the toes, lifting the hips, curling the sitting bone up, and pressing the chest back toward the thighs. Inhale, pushing forward to plank pose. Exhale, knees lower, stretching back, child's pose. Inhale, coming back to tabletop. And then finding our low plank, hands stepping forward slightly. Using the strong parts of your belly to help keep the hips lifted instead of dropping down toward the mat here. The tailbone is reaching back toward the backs of the knees. Taking one last inhale. And exhale, sending the hips back as we lift up to stand on the knees. Inhale, arms sweep up. Exhale, left arm forward, chest opens to the right. Inhale, reaching up, turning forward. Exhale, twisting the other way, arms about parallel to the floor. Inhale, reaching high. Exhale, elbows bend, hands land down, finding your child's pose. So playing with a bit of the opposites here between expansion and resting inward. Finding that refuge after some output. And this idea that we give things to other people. A lot of times we spend our time and energy helping others, doing work for others. And it's equally important to take that time to reconnect and care for ourselves so that we can replenish our energy. Breathing in, we'll slide forward to tabletop. And then lower down onto your forearms. Once your forearms are down, we'll take the knees back a few inches. Lower the thighs, lower the hips, Sphinx pose. And so if it's too much of a back bend to have elbows under shoulders, the elbows go straight forward as long as the forearms are parallel. So we don't want the elbows coming out to the sides. And there's a little bit of activation happening in the elbows and shoulders. Pressing down to help lift the chest. Taking a breath right here. And then with your next in-breath, we're going to curl the right heel in, keeping the right toes pointed. And exhale, top of the right foot lowers down to the floor. Full length of the inhale as you curl the left heel in. And exhale, left top of the foot lowers down. Trying to link this movement with the breath, just as much as we did in cat and cow. Or when we lowered the straight leg down to the floor. Trying to be very mindful to keep the movement smooth. We'll take one more on each side, building strength in the back of the legs and glutes here. And then from here, starting to lift the belly and hips. Taking the elbows all the way back as we find our child's pose to the back of the mat. Folding in for about 3 breaths. Then with your in-breath, start to come forward back to tabletop. You can use your blocks here. We'll take blocks outside of the hands and shoulders. So hands could come right up on top of the blocks. And then we're going to step the right foot forward, finding a 90-degree lunge with the right heel under the right knee. So the hips aren't moving too far forward here. The left hip is on top of the left knee. And then from there, we'll rise up, setting both hands on the right thigh. Just notice what's happening in your low back here. We want to have a sense of lift in the belly and the low back. Letting that lift continue all the way up through the chest. As you breathe in, take hands together in front of the heart. Interlace your hands, turn your palms forward and press the palms forward and away. Letting the backs of the shoulders become very wide here. And then as you breathe in, take your interlaced hands up overhead. So extending long through both arms, through the outsides of the shoulders. Taking a full breath here. And with your exhale, let go of the hands. You can bend the elbows and then take hands down to the blocks. We'll step the right foot a little bit more forward, and it might be a step, it might be more of a heel-toe wiggle motion. If you need to adjust your blocks so hands stay under the shoulders, you can take them forward slightly. Taking a couple of breaths here. Chest is lifted. Gaze is soft. Breath is smooth. As you breathe in, tuck your left toes under. And with your next inhale, pick up the left knee so the left leg is straight. Then we'll take the right hand inside of the right foot and pivot around to face the left side of the mat. So here we want the heels in line with each other, and big toes are also in line with each other. So there's no angle to the feet here. Feet are parallel. And then we keep the hips right where they are and start to walk the hands forward. So getting some nice reach through the arms here. You could use blocks or you could just be up on your fingertips. Letting the head dangle down, but imagine that you're driving your feet down and apart from each other energetically. So your feet won't actually move, but there's really that engagement and activation here. We'll take our final breath. And then bringing the hands back in. We're going to turn forward now. So pivoting to the front of the mat. Right foot lands down. Left heel is lifted. And then we'll lower the left knee. If you have blocks, you can place them off to the sides. We're going to step the right foot back. And then find a downward facing dog. Or if you feel like child's pose would be better for you, feel free to take child's pose. Taking another breath or two filled with sweetness
and a sense of soothing nourishment.
And then we'll all meet up in tabletop pose. So lowering your knees if you were in downward facing dog. And if you were in child's pose, lifting up to tabletop. From here, you could grab your blocks again if they were helpful on the first side, and we'll find our 90-degree lunge with the left foot forward. So the right leg doesn't change. We just make sure that the hip stays over the knee. And then we make sure the left shin is vertical, bringing us into 90 degrees, and then rising up. Hands to the left leg. And then with the next inhale, we'll bring hands together at the heart. Interlacing the hands. And then turning the palms forward. Letting the shoulder blades widen so that even the outsides of the shoulders start to wrap around the sides of your body. Breathing in, we'll take the arms up, extending even more through the shoulders. And if this feels too much in your shoulders, you can have your hands a little bit lower, or you could choose to separate your hands and take them any width apart that is more comfortable in your shoulders. We'll take our last breath in. And with the out breath, bending the elbows, taking hands down. And then stepping the left foot forward or wiggling it a bit forward so that we can lower the hips down a little bit closer to the front edge of the mat. And making sure that as we let the hips gently drop down, we're not also gently dropping, or not dropping at all, through the upper back. So the spine stays long. Shoulders are gently pulling back. And then with the next in-breath, we'll tuck the right toes, start to pick up the right knee. Sending energy back through the right leg, letting it be strong. Letting this line of the spine carry energy forward, just as much as the right heel is pressing energy back. Then taking the left hand with its block to the inside of the left foot, pivoting all the way around now to face the right side of the mat, and making sure that both feet are parallel. Then letting the spine hang down, even the upper spine and head, as much as is comfortable. Feet are pressing down and away from each other. And then you might start to extend the arms forward here, making sure that the hips don't carry forward with you. So hips stay still and arms reach out, getting into the shoulders. And then we'll walk the hands back in. Take the hands and blocks forward as we pivot forward. Left toes turn forward, right heel lifts up, so we come into the long lunge. And then lower the right knee down to the ground. We'll step the left foot back. And then you can choose here, we'll all ground our hands down, and you can choose downward facing dog or child's pose. And then we'll all lower down to the knees if you were in downward dog. If you were in child's pose, come up to your knees. And take your knees out a bit wider. We'll bring the big toes to touch, so the feet swing inward a little bit so the big toes can meet. And then from here, we'll take the hips back. So a bit of a wider child's pose. And if this feels uncomfortable for any reason, you can come up and take the child's pose with knees a bit closer. And if your arms are extended forward alongside the head, start to push into your fingertips so much that the palms lift up. And then lower your palms down. And right now, palms are on the ground. We're going to turn the thumbs up. So now pinkies are on the ground and palms are facing in toward each other. And then imagine and try to create the action. I don't know if it's even anatomically possible, so it probably won't happen. But we're going to rotate the hands out so the palms start to turn up, as if we were going to get the thumbs down on the mat. And I think in most bodies that won't happen, and we certainly don't want to force anything to happen here, but just getting a different type of rotation in the arms. And then we'll turn the palms back down to the mat. Start to lift the shoulders, lift the hips up away from the feet. Take the knees back in, hip width apart, and then take the feet to one side and come down to a seat. And we're going to sit in a wide-legged V shape. So if you know that this shape is difficult for your body, maybe it's hard to sit up tall here, you could sit up on a block or blanket, or you might even take yourself over to a wall nearby and use the wall to help support the torso. We want to have the heels down and the feet flexed, so the toes will be pointing back toward the hips. And then from here, we're going to bring our fingertips down to the ground, kind of outside of the hips and thighs. Keeping a flat back, take a little bit of a tip forward. And then spending a breath or two here, letting the body start to open into this shape. You might decide that this is enough. Or you might take another slight little tip forward. Keeping the breaths full. Breaths are expansive here. And keeping the back flat, you can take more weight into the hands, maybe bringing the hands in closer to help you lift up. We'll bring the bottoms of the feet together, finding our diamond shape. And if this is enough for you, stay with the diamond shape. Otherwise, we'll try out a different pose here called, it's a seated star pose, where we take the heels out, maybe about somewhere between 12 and 18 inches. between the heels. We have the feet flexed. And if this causes any discomfort in your knees, come right back to the diamond shape. It's really a very similar pose. We're just slightly activating the inner hips a little bit differently. And you can choose if you'd like to hold on to the shins. Even though I am, my forearms aren't pushing my knees down. But if it feels more natural, you could take hands to the floor outside of the legs in any way. And we want to work on lifting up through the chest, but making sure that we're not pinching the shoulder blades together. So upper back and chest are both open pretty equally here. And then we'll start to lift the knees back up. If you had the diamond shape, you can as well. And we'll just take some windshield wipers with the knees and hips side to side. And then from here, coming all the way down to your back. And coming down with bent knees. And then we'll extend the right leg forward, letting that right leg be soft and relaxed as you stretch it long. We're going to press into the left foot slightly so that we can shift a little more weight to the right outer hip. So that left outer hip might be slightly lifted here, and that's fine. Using leg and core strength, we'll pull the left knee in and then take the left knee over and across the body to a twist. Arms could be at a cactus shape or straight out to the sides. If the arms are straight, try and keep a little bit of reach through both arms. And then we'll roll back, taking the left knee back up, left foot to the floor. And then right foot to the floor. We can even out the hips here. And then extend the left leg straight, making sure it's relaxed. You might even shake the left leg a little bit, making sure there's no tension there. And then slightly pressing into the right foot to shift more weight into the left leg, left side of the body. The right outer hip might lift up, and that's fine. We'll pull the right knee in and then take it over and across. Last breath here. And then starting to lift the right knee, unwinding, right foot to the mat, left foot to the mat, and then evening out the body here, becoming symmetrical. And as you're ready, stretching your legs out, finding full relaxation pose. Letting your body settle
and become still. Letting your mind experience the sweetness of this stillness. This refuge of being within yourself. So that for this time, the only thing to do is to be present, to be aware, and allow yourself to rest. Beginning to deepen your breath. Wiggling your fingers and toes. Letting your body become a little bit more energized. You might choose to stretch your arms up and back alongside your ears. You might just send energy out through your arms and legs. And then when you're ready, taking your knees into your chest, arms to the legs, squeezing in, maybe rocking side to side. And as you're ready, rolling over to your side, pressing up into a seat, closing your eyes. Sensing what it's like to be comfortable within yourself.
not always comfortable within our bodies and minds, and so when it is, we should take that time to recognize it, to really appreciate it and let it sink in. Remembering that we're able to create this place for ourselves, within ourselves. We'll seal in our practice by stretching our arms out and up, bringing hands together and lowering them down to the heart. The goodness in me sees and honors the goodness in you. Namaste.